to the See of Peter on the 28th of October, 1958.
You're listening to Vatican Radio. I'm Veronica Scaresbrick. And I'm about to bring you an archive interview with Father Martin Nolan, one-time Prior General of the Augustinian Order, who was in St. Peter's Square when Cardinal Angelo Roncalli was elected to the See of Peter on the 28th of October, 1958. But why don't you listen to his memories of that day?
I think that really it's a memory of contrasts because Pius XII, as you know, was a man who greatly impressed the people by, I suppose, his isolation as well as everything else. It was very hard to get a private audience with him or to meet him personally, and so people, especially in Rome, adulated him as they saw him carried in on the Sedia Gestatoria at that time. So that when eventually he died, there was great mourning and regret. He died in Casa Gandolfo, and I remember well the day. And when eventually the conclave was called and the new pope was announced, people were, I suppose, almost visibly disappointed because the new pope didn't have the figure or the dignity, apparently, at first, of the pope that the church had lost.
You said that you remember well the day that the pope died. Why?
Well, because there was a great amount of hoopla in the press. In fact, the Pope was out in Casa Gandolfo, as was usual, for his summer break, and some papers announced his death before he died. There was a certain amount of media scandalous coverage, especially because at that time the Pope in Casa Gandolfo was almost segregated from other parts of the church because he had his own kind of curia that ran Casa Gandolfo, Mother Pasqualina and some Jesuit fathers and a few others, and his own Dr. Galeazzi Lisi. And the communication between them and the media was not great, so that apparently some of the press anticipated his death, and others then, when he died, had many stories about it.
Getting back to Pope John the 23rd, you said that people were a bit disappointed to start with. I mean, we got this portly new pope instead of the austere and elegant figure of Pius XII, who introduced a whole new style into the papacy.
That's right. I remember I was in the square the night that he was elected. And as far as I remember, it took several days to elect him. There was confusion about the white and the black smoke. Nobody could quite make out which was white and which was black. But eventually the feeling got around that he was going to be elected, and I was over there when he was announced.
You knew who he was?
No, I did not know who he was. In fact, most people didn't know who he was because the announcement at that time was made in Latin. You know, Annuncio vobis Gaudium Magnum, I announce your great joy. We have then elected a pope, and then they name him. But the people around me were saying, who is this man? Who is he? We've never heard of him before. And when eventually he arrived on the loggia, and they saw this tiny figure barely able to look over the parapet, you know, they were saying,
Why? We have smoke in St. Peter's Square now, so we will come back, and it looks to be white.
White.
We have a
Look at that smoke streaming out.